All right, cool. So, our podcast this week was all about taglines, movie taglines. So, we've thought we'd just give you a little bit of a tasty bonus treat with a Wednesday video here, and we've plucked some covers from the shelves, and we're going to read the taglines and see where it takes us. But interesting thing is, you've got a collection full of VHS, so there's no shortage of taglines there. My collection is mostly DVD and Blu-ray, and I had no idea that very few of them have taglines on them anymore.
Yeah, I went through with the discs, and I had no luck. So back to the VHS.
Yeah. So yeah, I've come up with some. They're really terrible taglines, but I'll go first with one.
All right.
This one is The Mule, which the Lee Winnell film. Tagline there is, and I'm going to flash these on the screen like we do on the Spitball. Tagline here is, "It's what's inside that counts." and that's funny because if you haven't seen the film, he's got drugs up his ass. So what do you got there?
I'm going to start with one of my favorite films, Cherry 2000. And the tagline for this film is, "In the future, when the perfect woman short circuits, sex will be an adventure."
What?
Yeah. Have you ever seen Cherry 2000?
Yeah, I have.
So basically, for those people out there who haven't, his now out of production sex bot, the Cherry 2000, short circuits while he's having sex with her in a pool of like washing detergent, kind of overflowing, because I think she's washing the dishes when he comes home, and she leaves the tap going, and the room overflows with bubbles, and she short circuits, so he has to go into the forbidden zone, to the old Cherry 2000 factory, and try and get a replacement sex doll. It is an amazing film.
That deserves a remake. We're all in the technological era. Like, all right, I've got another Angus Sampson one here. This one is 100 Bloody Acres.
Right.
They're not psycho killers. They're just small business operators. That's a terrible tagline.
So that's the Cairns brothers. Is it the Cairns brothers?
Yeah. This is the one they did before. What was the other one they did? Scare Campaign.
Scare Campaign. That's right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't mind 100 Bloody Acres. I actually covered it on my Scarefest TV segment a few months ago.
Right.
It's good fun. Good fun. Anything with Damon Herriman in, I'll watch.
Yeah, that guy is great. And yes. I'm glad that he's doing well in Hollywood.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so my next one is a film called Assault of the Killer Bimbos. And the tagline is amazing. Anything you wear will be taken down and held in evidence. It's a classic tagline.
Mate, we need to get you back in on the desk because you're always going to have the upper hand so long as you're in your environment. There's only one here I think that will come close to matching it. But next one I've got is just Hellraiser. It will tear your soul apart. I mean, that's a classic tagline. I don't think it's a particularly good one.
It sounds like the lyric to a Sinead O'Connor song.
He looks like Sinead O'Connor.
She does. Yeah. Nothing compares to Pinhead.
No.
All right, so I'll go with a less exploitational one this time. One of my favorite horror films as a child, the film A Warlock.
Yes.
And,
yes.
He's come from the past to destroy the future. What a great tagline.
I'm staring straight at the poster for Warlock Armageddon. The son of Satan has returned.
And what was the third? There's a third one where
the Age of Innocence.
Age of Innocence, where he's replaced by like Bruce Payne. Is it Julian Sands gets replaced by Bruce Payne, and Angel Boris is in it and stuff?
If you are watching and you love Warlock, go back to the podcast where we covered Warlock as a series. So myself, Jarrett, and Sean Crawford got together and we watched them back to back. And by the time we got to number 3, the fatigue had kicked in. We're watching number 3, but we realised no one's saying a word, but we're just staring at the TV and we're not actually watching. Like we're just zoned completely out.
I would have been asleep halfway through number 2.
But there's that tie-in because I just mentioned Hellraiser and Ashley Lawrence is in Warlock 3, so why would you not make a Warlock 3 that has some kind of connection, even thematically? Like, it's just a tack-on title. It's terrible.
That movie is ripe for a remake now. Like, how good would that the tongue nailing scene in Warlock terrified me
Yeah.
as a child, and like
Yeah.
you know, that's the kind of stuff they need to be putting in movies these days. More tongue torture. Like everyone,
Yeah, but
everyone loves Fulci movies, and they're all about eye torture and stuff. What about the tongue? What about that tongue?
well, yeah. How do you replace bloody Richard though, man?
Yeah. Oh, he's still around.
Like,
He looks pretty.
I'll,
He looks young enough. He could. He could play
I'll
the same
search hither.
character.
You're thither.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. And look, nerds get this way when you talk about remakes and all that, but can you imagine Warlock without Julian Sands? I think he's not the greatest actor in the world, but he was born to play that role.
He was. It's so hard to believe that ever since Warlock, like I only ever knew him from kind of like sleazy films or horror films and stuff like that, like Boxing Helena and kind of weird stuff like that. But prior to that, he was making like period costume dramas in the like UK period movies.
Kind of what made him perfect for Warlock because he had the chops for the period.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's very similar to Vincent Ward's film Navigator. You know, the one where Odyssey Through Time, where they take one period and plonk them in the present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love. Well, I like. If you go back to that podcast, you'll discover that myself and Sean are massive fans of Part 2, Warlock Armageddon. But I'm a massive Anthony Hickox fan, trying to get him on the podcast. So, fingers crossed we do.
Indeed.
All right, my next one, talking of exploitation. So mine is the Umbrella Entertainment's double pack of Felicity and Centre Spread.
Oh, Centre Spread.
So I'm thinking, I'll read both out. So Felicity's tagline is from convent school to erotic Hong Kong. She's not as innocent as she looks.
Erotic Hong Kong.
And then Centre Spread has, I'm a goddess, I'm a princess in a satin bed, I'm your centre spread.
Really clutching at straws to keep that one rhyming.
Yeah, I reckon. Oh, mate, it's a great double feature.
It is. Like, I remember watching Centre Spread, like playing late night on Channel 9 or Channel 7.
Yeah.
And just being like, what is this? Like a post kind of fascist society where they use like porn to keep the population subdued. Porn TV.
Mate,
it's like a weird kind of take on Cafe Flesh.
Did Australia make great films or what back then? And thank God for Umbrella pumping them out. Like,
yeah. I wish they'd do Sweet Talker with Brian Brown. That's the one that needs a. They could do it like a dual one like that. The Empty Beach with Brian Brown and Sweet Talker with Brian Brown. Both those films need Blu-ray releases.
There's so much, and it's quite funny when they release certain films. Like recently, they released was it Crosstalk?
Crosstalk.
And the other one was, if I look up at my collection, I've got it. What's the one about the teenager that's sort of peddling drugs in high school? Fast Talking.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Like, these are films that I barely knew existed. And when they get released, it's like, why didn't I know that existed? And then I think, how many other films out there have I never heard of?
Yeah.
You know, like, you think you've got a great knowledge of Australian cinema, but then you realise, Jesus, like, there's so many yet to come.
Well, I remember the Australian section, and it was 99, I would say it's 90% Umbrella, 10% Madman, was the most popular section at Cinema World when I worked there at the shop in Collingwood.
Mate, like if I had to choose between like an entire collection of every Australian film ever made or just a really good general section, I'd go the Aussie one all the time. Like I just adore Aussie cinema.
Yeah, we made some real bangers back in the day.
That Crosstalk was really good too.
Yeah.
Loved it. All right, what else we got? Whose turn is it?
I'll
go.
Yeah.
This one, just quickly, we all know this one. Creep Show, the most fun you'll have being scared.
Classic.
Yeah.
I've got... all right, here we go. There's a film called Panther Squad, starring the phenomenal Sybil Danning. And the tagline for this film is they're sleek, sexy and strong. They can turn you on with their bare bodies, then tear you apart with their bare hands.
I think I need to start putting the voice on when I do these.
I love a long tagline.
You do, and you love to do a tagline voice. I think our mate Brody loves that too because he's commented on your voiceover work.
Oh, right.
I like this one. This is Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Ah, a fantastic
And
film.
it's an amazing film, but they've taken like half of a tagline from Predator because the tagline is "If it bleeds, it leads." It's a good tagline.
Good tagline. Yeah.
All right. What else?
I guess they probably had him pushing too many pencils in the newsroom.
Let's plow through these.
Okay, so this is my favorite, one of my favorite Charles Durning films, Stand Alone, and the tagline is, and if you know Charles Durning, you'll know how kind of ridiculous this is. I am death, come with me. Is the tagline, and Charles Durning is he's exactly as you would expect. He's just as old and fat as he's in all these other movies, and yet, I am death. Come with me.
This is a terrible one. This is, I think it's a terrible film, but this is Tarantino's Hateful Eight. And the tagline is, "No one comes up here without a damn good reason." Terrible.
That's an odd tagline, isn't it?
For a Tarantino film, definitely.
I mean,
you can go much harder.
Yeah. Okay, this is one of my favourite Australian films, The Club. Bruce Beresford's The Club, based on the John Wilson
Jack
play.
Thompson.
And starring Jack Thompson, who we've talked about already. And the tagline for this one, it's tough enough on the field, but in the boardroom, it's a battleground. Nobody plays by the rules. Jesus, Laurie.
I've got three more.
All right.
I've got three more. Let's plow through. Okay, so this one is the Dead Alive version of Brain Dead, the Peter Jackson film. Peter Jackson needs to get his shit out on Blu-ray, man.
Yeah. Come on, how long does it take?
Same with James Cameron, right? Like The Abyss and, anyway, it's another discussion. So the tagline here is, I don't even know if this is the New Zealand tagline from the Brain Dead version, but this one says, "Some things won't stay down even after they die."
Right.
Doesn't sound familiar as far as the cover art I used to have.
It doesn't.
That three-dimensional cover art.
Yeah. It doesn't make it sound like a rip-snorting comedy either, though.
No, like, what a movie. Yeah, what a movie. Anyway.
No, making the big dollars. All right, so this one is Amityville 2, The Possession. Mm-hmm. The creepiest of the Amityville films, I'll go on the record as saying. In 1976, a New York family fled this house with their lives. The previous owners weren't so lucky. This is their story.
That's great because it references the first film.
The first film, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Nothing. There's no other carryover other than the house, kind of.
Yeah, the tagline is the carryover. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's a really hard franchise to get into. My favorite is probably the fourth one, but it's just
Is that the Time one?
Hang on a second. My camera just stopped recording again. I don't know what's going on. This happened last week and I didn't catch it, so give me a sec.
Should we spend a bit more time talking about Amityville 2, The Possession? With
All right, we're back.
We back?
What are you talking about?
I was talking about Amityville 2, The Possession. I was going to talk about Burt Young, Britannia Alder.
You're a good wingman.
Diane Franklin, 4-star cast.
All right. Well, that camera cut just before my final one, so
Okay.
I'm not exactly going out on a high here. But Timescape with Jeff Daniels.
Oh wow! Yeah. Okay.
The David is it Toy film? How do you spell it? How do you pronounce his surname? David Toy?
I got no idea.
Anyway.
I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying.
He came back from the future to save his only child from the past.
Jeez, they're all working on that Warlock tagline, aren't they?
Well, he wrote Warlock, and
he wrote that one. Yeah, right.
And the cover's kind of Warlocky.
Yeah, right. I've never seen Timescape. I always thought I'd seen it because I'd seen Dreamscape, but it's a completely different film.
Yeah, Timescape is great. Like, there was a film that went straight to video in the 90s called Thrill Seekers.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah. And I saw that first. I think it had Casper Van Dien and someone else. And I remember
the great Casper Van Dien.
I love the premise at the time. I'm like, this is a really clever film. It's a real shame that they never made it well. Then I realized it was a rip-off of Timescape. So they actually did make it well. And I just didn't know at the time. And if you've never seen it, it's essentially about time traveling tourists that visit disasters from the past.
Oh, right. Kind of like
So-
what do you call it? Dark tourism, where you visit the serial killer, like places of
Yeah.
of famous
So-
killings.
So, like, you know, they visit the Hindenburg and they visit, you know, certain catastrophes, and they are almost given away by the fact that someone cottons on to them being in famous photos of all these things
right.
across time. Yeah, so it's a great concept, and you know, it's led to many urban legends in actual historical photos. And
Yeah, right.
yeah,
All right. So my last one
Mm-hmm.
is a classic film called Splits, about a bunch of teens at an aerobics camp, at a cheerleader camp, I should say. And the tagline is, "We wish this movie was about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad."
did Meatloaf write that?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. What a great film.
Well, that was a shonky little bonus video for people, and we got there in the end.
Yeah. Even if the camera
was
stopped
fun.
working and whatnot.